Hey fellow explorers, welcome to another Yellow Productions live stream. Today I'm just going to be sharing a little bit about what's going on in the life of Yellow Productions. I spend a lot of time on these live streams talking about travel, talking about where we are, where we're going, where my favorite places to go are, and maybe not that much about me and OC Girl and what's going on with us. So I thought I'd share a little bit of that, and then we'll have a lively question and answer session with plenty of time where I answer your questions in this video. And you know, a lot of YouTubers, when they do life update videos, you're thinking, gosh, what's wrong? What's happening? And first of all, I just want to tell you, life is good. Life is good. I've got no significant complaints. And if I did have significant complaints, doesn't matter because it wouldn't do me any good to complain about it anyway. The complaints department to solve my complaints about life, they're closed, or they don't answer or fix my complaints for whatever reason. But you know, I am really happy to see the world kind of starting to turn the corner around the pandemic. I feel like travel is returning slowly in some places, more quickly in other places. You know, a lot of people talk about when they had COVID-19. You know, I did not make the video to say I have COVID-19, but I did go through my bout of it about 3 months ago. It was a drag, it was a quarantine, it was a cough, and you know, I had just one of these personal experience things about you're supposed to isolate for as long as you test positive, and I was testing positive for like 2 weeks after having initial, just this like long drag on of this like ever so faint line on these home tests. I've gotten really good at doing these COVID-19 tests now for all the travel we've done and all those sorts of things that, you know, every time we would get a sore throat or anything like that, we're like, all right, well, let's break out a test, and you know, eventually it turns that color in it and it comes for everybody. It's also come for my dad, Electric Rick. He's actually just recovering from his bout with it too. So send him some healing thoughts. I hope you've been enjoying the videos with Electric Rick in it. He is recovering, not significant in his case. And if you haven't seen it yet, do check out the video we recently did at Din Tai Fung, where my dad tells you how he likes my favorite Taiwanese restaurant. This year, I celebrated 42 years on this earth, back at my favorite steakhouse, Mastro's Steakhouse. When people always say, Chris, where's your favorite steakhouse in Las Vegas? It's Mastro's, which is in Crystals in Las Vegas, though the one I often eat at is the one in Costa Mesa, California. And what I love about this steakhouse is it's like kind of a little bit of old, you know, pomp and circumstance and service. If you look, the guy standing right behind me right there, and maybe I'll make this one bigger, in that white jacket, you know, they all wear these like perfectly white outfits. The service is amazing. And what was even more amazing was our waitress, when she came over to our table, she's like, I know you. I've seen your videos. I watched your videos when we went to Maui and when we went to Kauai. I told my manager that you're here, that you're from Yellow Productions. That's amazing. And so it's always amazing to see my fellow explorers, all of you, everywhere in this world, frankly, even at dinner at my favorite steakhouse. The Spunky Princess, she just turned 3 years old as well. And we were carrying around this number 3 balloon to take some pictures to commemorate her 3rd birthday. And you know, what's sort of funny, if you walk around with a balloon that says number 3 on it, maybe not you, like not me. Like if I walk around with the number 3 balloon, nobody's gonna say anything. But if a little kid walks around with a number 3 balloon, do you know what it causes everybody to say when they walk by that little one? It causes them to say happy birthday, because they assume this child is only carrying a number 3 balloon because it must be their birthday, and that's why they carry it around. I feel like it's this really interesting, like, social view. If child is carrying number balloon, then it must be their birthday. But I'm starting to think, you know, that maybe the Spunky Princess should just carry around balloons because it's her favorite number. What do you mean happy birthday? That's her favorite number. It's number 3, although she does really enjoy the balloons. Ryan on the live stream says happy birthday to the Spunky Princess, and Cottage Full of Love says cutest, and Kathy says I remember when you announced the arrival just 3 short years ago, continuing to bless our lives. And It was also funny as we were going around taking these pictures in a shopping mall where we live. OC Girl and I were hanging back a little bit because we wanted to get some video and we wanted to get some photos of the spunky princess running around with her number 3 balloon. And every once in a while, there'd be somebody who would like stand in front of her to be like, little girl, where are your parents? Are you lost? And of course, 20 feet away, Dad is here like, it's okay. Just let her keep going. She knows where the carousel is. We're going to the carousel. And then to be like, oh, sorry. I guess I appreciate that people do look at a lost girl carrying balloons to be like, she must have ran away from her parents. And no, it's her YouTuber parents that are just 20 feet behind. Alex says, is that mall Irvine Spectrum? Indeed, that is Irvine Spectrum. Very good eye, Alex. Ricky says, is there going to be another spunky prince or princess? You know, we are very happy with one. We think this one came out perfect, and so we don't want to, like tempt perfection. So 1 is definitely the number for us. That, and she is quite a handful, and whether OC Girl and I are capable of handling a second handful is also another topic for debate. Now, in addition to this YouTube channel, OC Girl and I have day jobs. In the day, I work in the software industry, and OC Girl is a network engineer, keeps the internet running, so the trons keep flowing. And we are at the beginning of the pandemic, we were thrust to work at home. By the way, if you don't recognize that spot, that's my downstairs live stream studio, which is also my desk when I'm working at home. And we are now back in the office, kind of. We're back in the office a couple days a week and a couple days at home. So kind of this hybrid 50-50, 40-60 sort of thing. But the COVID here in California comes and goes. And so right now we're in a higher transmission rate. And so then it's like spend more time at home as it is. It was really great to get back to real travel this year. We had some great trips this year. Last year in 2021, we were just kind of going wherever we could that was nearby, but this year we went to a lot of great places. We just got back from our annual Las Vegas trip. Earlier in the year, we did California Central Valley from Bakersfield up to Yolo County near Sacramento to see the almond blossoms that blossom every February, March in California, which were truly beautiful. We did Whistler and Vancouver, Orlando, Florida, the San Francisco Bay Area, Seattle, and we have an upcoming trip to Sedona, Arizona here throughout the holiday break. We think that would be a lot of fun. Andrew says, am I taking my family back to Vegas? Love you review taking the family. The Spunky Princess did come with us to Vegas, indeed. Meat Hook says, do you have any more Hawaii trips planned? None planned, but Hawaii is always at the top of our list as a place to go back to. Chris says, thanks for the updates on Vegas. It's crazy to see the changes, especially at the Mirage. There is a lot changing in Vegas. There's never been a time that I've seen more changes in such a short period. I think with the pandemic, a lot of places went under, a lot of things were undervalued, so people who had money swooped in and are like, now's my chance to make my mark on Vegas and get in when I could never have got in before. Let's see, Points Traveler says, love Sedona. Points Traveler, if you have any suggestions as to what we should see in Sedona, we're definitely open for them because other than planning flights and rental cars and hotels, we haven't planned much else yet. Now, the Spunky Princess has been doing great on all of our trips. This is always a, interesting debate or conversation where people say the best trips with kids are the ones where you don't take them. We totally don't agree with that. We bring her nearly everywhere we go. Nearly everywhere. She can't go everywhere that we go. But she enjoys exploring, checking into new hotels. Whenever we tell her where we're going to a hotel. We're going to a new hotel. She's the first one in the elevator running down the hallway to get into the room to ultimately jump on the bed. I'm sorry for any of you who were our downstairs neighbors, but the good news is she does go to bed pretty early, so likely that didn't impact any sleeping downstairs. When she is not traveling with us, and we're working in the day out at some place where she can't be. Then she spends her days in a Montessori preschool, which we are super happy with. She's been there for about a year and a half now, weekdays. And, this is always a big debate as to when do you put your kids in preschool, daycare? Do you keep them home? But we feel she's learned a lot of great social skills. She's developed a lot of great friends. And frankly, they teach her things that I don't think we would, not because we feel we're bad parents, but we're just not armed with all of the same educational stuff that they are at a Montessori school. Back in sort of Yellow Productions news, a neat thing that I got to do earlier this year in Modesto, California, I got to give the Keynote presentation at a California State Parks conference. So if you look at this thing, this was a little sign in front of the room, and that's the California Trails and Greenways Conference, which is an annual conference for California State Parks trail managers. And Chris Rainey right there from Yellow Productions was their keynote talk to talk all about the value of social media, online videos, and what it could bring, frankly, to California State Parks if they upped their game in the YouTube video department. So by the way, if any of you are hosting conferences and you're like, we could use a keynote speaker, well, let me tell you, I am definitely available. All right. In YouTube land this year, we published on this channel 170 videos in 2022, which is almost a video every other day. I mean, not quite, but almost. That's edited lives and shorts all together. YouTube sends this annual email with like statistics about like, this is what it looked like your year in YouTube. And it was sort of funny. One section of it says, as far as live streaming is concerned, Yellow Productions has reached final boss status. I guess I'm like Bowser or M. Bison in Street Fighter, final boss stat. That's because all y'all come here to watch these live streams. It's phenomenal. In particular, 1.6 million views across the live stream, which is not just live, but the archives. And the most popular live stream was the video I did on American myths. The other interesting statistic that YouTube shared in that email was this one about shorts, saying that I really showed off my creativity in YouTube Shorts with 31 shorts uploaded, 137,000 views, which I don't consider fantastic in that department. I don't know that I've really figured out shorts yet, but I do feel like the ones I do where I eat food do well, because the two most popular on this list, one was a 15-second video of eating a sea urchin, and then the second one was eating a Japanese A5 Wagyu popsicle. So maybe I need to do more short videos of eating food. I don't know. If you've got an idea for shorts that you want to see, let me know. Melissa says that she hates shorts. All right, Melissa, thank you for that one. Andrew says, congrats on final boss status for the live streams. You deserve it. Thank you for that, Andrew. I appreciate it. NA818 says, what an accomplishment. All right. And oh, by the way, on the live stream, we've got 149 viewers, 46 likes. If you're enjoying this video right now, I'd really appreciate it if you give me a thumbs up. Every like to this video goes to feed one piece of premium bamboo to the Yellow Productions crew in the back. And Carlos asks if I can do a keynote in Spanish. Mi español no bueno. That would not be a informative talk. That would be a humorous talk at how poor my Spanish is. I think my Chinese is probably better than my Spanish. Sam the Man says, is YouTube your full-time job? My full-time job is in the software industry. YouTube is my very involved hobby. All right. The next thing I want to share related to followers and numbers is, if you haven't seen what's been going on over on my Facebook page, Facebook is a whole different animal for videos, and I've been taking the videos that I publish here on YouTube, re-editing them in a shorter and snappier feel. And so actually my Facebook page this year crossed 400,000 followers. There's more people that follow Yellow Productions over on Facebook. The source of the video starts over here, then they go over there. But I will say, since I've been doing the Facebook page, which is about a year and a half, it's definitely gotten, the videos on Facebook have definitely gotten pushed to a lot more people in my daily life that like maybe knew I was a YouTuber but never watched my videos or whatever. And then they were like, Chris, I finally saw your video on Facebook. It was amazing, because different algorithm over there. And Facebook, I feel like, tends to shove more, I don't know if it's unrelated or things that aren't part of your circle in front of you. And so getting exposure to a lot of people over there. Melissa says, I follow you everywhere. All right. Thank you very much for that, Melissa. Garrett says, that's why I'm seeing videos I've seen before on Facebook. Facebook is an odd animal in that Facebook video doesn't have a lot of great organic reach. It doesn't have a lot of, like, YouTube people come and they search. Like, you come here and, well, in this case, you didn't search for this video, but the way a lot of people find videos on YouTube is they search, and then obviously when you come to YouTube, maybe you search a little bit, and then you find things on your home screen. Facebook's very different because it has that notion of the feed, and then people don't really search for videos on Facebook, and so the videos just kind of get pushed to people, but often not at the time I upload it. Like YouTube, you have a tendency to see videos much more recently when they're uploaded. On Facebook, it's not so much. And so that's also why if you follow me on Facebook, you'll end up with videos that are older that you'll see. Also because they just sort of like peter out for a while, and then the only way to get more views on them is to like reshare them again. And then it goes to a whole different set of people than originally. But on YouTube, just put them there, and then videos I have on my YouTube channel can go strong. Good 5 worst cheap hotels in Las Vegas can go strong for 5 to 7 years after I've made the video. It can keep getting views without any continued promotion, and not really the same thing on Facebook. Boston Elevators and Aviation says, how's Instagram doing? You know, I haven't really gone all in on Instagram. Like, I certainly post pictures. I post stories every week to Instagram and also to YouTube. If you haven't seen them, you can find the little stories thing and watch the little 15-second clips. But that's another, like, you know, it's a whole different format for Instagram, so I'm not sure I've quite figured that one out yet. Steve says, I was looking forward to lots of traveling in 2023, but airfare is ridiculously high. Airfare and hotel rates are pretty high in 2023. So yeah, travel is going to cost you more for sure. Sweet Sicely says, are live chats financially lucrative? Okay, so, you know, this is one of those where in the notion that I do have a day job, and OC Girl does have a day job, this is really a labor of love rather than a labor of what's lucrative for us. And if I was only turning this camera on to make $20, I don't know that I'd be doing it. What I will say related to finances and lucrative, I do appreciate any contributions. I appreciate your views. I appreciate y'all watching the ads, because that's you trading your time for a few cents that goes into the Yellow Productions bank to help buy the lights and the camera and pay for the upgraded internet and pay for the music that I license. And like, if you were to look at the bill of what it takes to put on a Yellow Production show and to put on the Travel Channel and to do things that we do to put them in the videos, it's a significant investment. And so if there wasn't the AdSense coming back, I probably wouldn't do all the things that we do, but because we do get that additional income from the AdSense, from the contributions, from people who buy the t-shirts, then I can justify all these other things that we do in videos. If you hear like Mr. Beast, who's, you know, #1 subscribed to YouTuber on YouTube, and he talks about, you know, people say like, Mr. Beast, how much do you make from your videos? And he's like, I put everything I earn from this video into my next video so that I could make better videos for y'all. And that's generally been kind of my approach to this, is to say my goal is really to take any income that comes into the channel and pour it back into the channel so that I can make better videos for y'all, because any income that came into this channel came in from y'all. So I appreciate it. Tamla says, if people skip ads, does it generate revenue? Yes, it is simply the ad impression that generates the revenue. Whether you skip it or not has no bearing on then how much that actually gets paid out. Nate says, good deals on cruises coming up. All right, that is good to hear. I haven't, we're not huge cruise snobs because OC Girl has a tendency to get seasick, and so we're generally land lovers in that aspect. All right, speaking of the Spunky Princess, if you haven't checked her channel out yet, we launched her channel this year. It has 198 subscribers. If there are 2 of you out there that haven't subscribed yet, please head over there, hit the subscribe button. You can get us over the hump of 200. One thing being at home a lot over the pandemic that I've did, and I guess this is related to investments, is significantly invest in improving my 2 studio spaces up here and downstairs. So if things sound good and if they look good, and I hope that they do, and the lights are a little bit different, it's because I've spent a lot of time researching what kind of light should I get. And so if you wonder what all this is behind the scenes, stay tuned tomorrow, because tomorrow I am uploading the Yellow Productions 2022 studio behind the scenes tour that'll walk you through all the stuff that it takes to make one of these live streams and go as we go into the new year. Now, what does 2023 bring? And then we'll open it up to unstructured Q&A. 2023, we're thinking perhaps we'll go to Central California again and visit the almond blossoms. This time we did Bakersfield to Yolo, which is Sacramento. We're thinking this time maybe we'll start in Yolo and go a little further. Maybe. I don't know. We haven't booked it, but that's what we're talking about. We're also hoping to make it to Taiwan and Japan this year, provided that those places really open up and do away with their indoor mask mandates. Japan's open, but there's still a lot of masking around, and doing videos is just not that great to have a diaper over your mouth and try to make a good, interesting video. And subscriber-wise, Yellow Productions channel on YouTube just got to 280,000. I'm hoping to pass 300,000 in 2023. So if you are watching and you haven't subscribed yet, I don't know who you would be, but if you're one of that small select group that's been holding out on your subscription, go ahead, help me out, click that subscribe button so we can get over the 300,000 hump.
Fellow explorers, it is now Q&A time. If you've got a question, I've got an answer.
All right, fellow explorers, this is the time where I answer your questions, whatever they are. And first, I start with Chris. What are you drinking today? I am drinking the Genki Forest Oolong Tea roasted flavor. Here, maybe I should actually show you what the front of that looks like. How do I know what that is? Well, because it's the English translation on the back. There we go. It's a roasted oolong, has a more maybe deeper flavor than a regular oolong taste. And I will say over the past year, I've been getting quite into roasted oolong drinks. Junie says, when will OC Girl debut on YouTube? I can't wait for it. She loves to be behind the camera instead of in front of the camera. Tamala says, my 16-year-old wants to start making travel videos. What's a good introductory camera? Honestly, Tamala, a smartphone is a great introductory camera. Half the time I'm using this Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra, get a wireless mic for it, and it makes a really good camera. The wireless mic, I like the DJI mic or the Rode Wireless Go 2. They work great on Samsung devices, they work great on iPhones, and you know what? It's no more than just the smartphone. Justin says, do you maintain a travel map or log to track all the countries you've visited and or flights taken? I definitely don't track the flights we've taken, and I think the way that I just track all the countries that I visited is by making YouTube videos on them. I also use Google Maps, and so Google Maps has this like timeline feature that you can go in and see like where are all the places that I've been. And so when I wanted to do the like where did all the places I go this year, that was what I did. I went to the Google Maps timeline for this year, and it just put on a map all the places that we've been, which is neat. Mrs. Clay says, what about Montreal, Quebec City? We definitely do want to do more Canada next year too. I am thinking like Banff, like Lake Louise would be a lot of fun. And then yes, we could hit up some of the other big cities, Toronto, Montreal, Quebec. Those are all high on the list. Andrew says, what camera do you use for your videos? It's so sharp. I use a lot of different cameras for my videos. I think I probably have like 10 different cameras that I use for my videos. The Christmas lights videos, I've been using my like high-end flagship camera, which is the Sony a7S III. It does really good at nighttime shots. But if you want some of the details of the other ones that I use, if you like expand the description of any of my travel guides, like look at my Sydney travel guide, expand the description, it'll tell you the models of the main camera that I use on most of the travel trips that I take, which is not the Sony a7S III. It's a Sony camcorder with a stabilized gimbal lens in the middle of it. They're actually, Mr. Beast uses those same cameras on his videos because they just really help with the shake a lot. Cottage Full of Love says, what travel YouTubers do you enjoy? Kara and Nate, I was watching them when they were doing their like van life tour across the US. Lost LeBlanc from Canada. I say from Canada, now he lives in like Indonesia or Bali. Fun for Louis, I think he's moved to like Costa Rica or something like that. It's really interesting to follow the evolution of a lot of travel YouTubers because they seem to travel a lot and then end up in a stage where they're then kind of like just hanging out at home and not traveling all that much. I also, in Japan, really love Chris Brode, who does a lot of great Japan videos. And there's another one, Paolo from Tokyo, that I really like in Japan as well. There's certainly plenty of you on here, the channels I enjoy to watch. I enjoy Hello from Hawaii. Chris, he's been on this channel a bit. I enjoy his videos about Hawaii. I consume a lot of YouTube in addition to watching it. Yes, I shouldn't forget these. Carlos says, Walter's World. I love Mark from Walter's World, John Barr from Here Be Bar, and I'm not familiar with the third one because that's likely a Spanish channel, but then also Rob from Trip Hacks DC, phenomenal as well. So I'm going to answer one question I got before this. Chris from Hello from Hawaii said, I won't be able to make the live stream, but I wanted to ask, what was your favorite video from 2022? Also, what was a video that surprised you and how well it did? And so one of my favorites was my Death Valley video, the guide we did on Death Valley, just because I was going to Death Valley, I was actually so surprised at how cool it was. Like, a lot of places don't meet up to my expectations, but Death Valley is one that surpassed my expectations. And you're like, Chris, what does that look like? Then go watch my Death Valley guide. Collabs, I've enjoyed doing my in-person collaboration videos with Rob from Trip Hacks DC in Washington, D.C. And I also enjoyed doing one with Josh from California Through My Lens that we did in Huntington Beach. That was a lot of fun too. Two videos that surprised me about how well they did. One is my video on the new Los Angeles 6th Street Bridge. It was a 3-minute video that I did on this bridge, and that garnered 120,000 views. I wouldn't have thunk it that so many people would have watched this video on a bridge, but they did. And then the other one that really surprised me is my video on global entry, TSA PreCheck, and clear. That video has gone on to 233,000 views, and it's still generating 2,000 more views every hour for a video that I just talk about the value of these programs. But I think that that's one where there just wasn't another good video in that segment. Like, people like, Chris, I really want to know what's the difference between global entry and PreCheck and clear. And so that video continues to do well. Brian says, should I switch from Marriott Bonvoy to Hyatt in 2023? Here's my it depends. I love Marriott. I love Hyatt too. I think Hyatt has the better elite program. And if you can make 60 nights a year at Hyatt's, Hyatt Globalist is the best elite status in any hotel program there is. The problem with Hyatt is there aren't as many Hyatts as there are Marriotts, and so it's easier to hit the higher tiers in Marriott than it is in Hyatt. Sam the Man wants to know if we've done a video in the Grand Canyon. Not yet. Tamala says, I really enjoyed the Trip Hacks DC videos. Stand to the right of the escalator. Right. That's right. One side you stand, one side you walk. Don't stand across the whole thing. Andrew says, what airline do I think will be the best airline to fly with? I think it really depends where you're going. Singapore Airlines has always been one of my favorites. If they fly where you're flying, fly with them. If you're flying domestically in the US, I think Delta is the best as far as airlines go, and by that I mean on-time status, quality of product. I think it makes the best. I also saw here, Electric Rick in the chat, my dad says, hey Chris, what would you say is the strangest restaurant that you've ever been to? Oh, I've been to some strange restaurants, but I think probably one of the strangest was the restaurant we went to in Japan that specialized in horse sashimi, raw horse. And it was actually surprisingly tasty. And if you wonder again, what does that look like? Just search for Yellow Productions horse sashimi and you will find that video. James says, will we be seeing more of Electric Rick on the channel? Depends. Electric Rick has to want to be on the channel, and I'm not saying that he doesn't, but I've heard a lot of you say, yes, you should have more of your dad on the channel, so I think you should expect more. Momo says, how do you prevent traveler's diarrhea when you travel outside the country? Not Japan or Korea, because those are places that have a lot of good water and food and those sorts of things, and I would just say it's to eat and drink at places that I think meet a high standard for cleanliness. Simply put, like when we go to Thailand, we go to Bangkok, we don't eat at the street food stalls. I love street food, but my tummy doesn't love the street food in Bangkok. It is not adapted to the bugs that are in the environment. So we'll eat at the food courts. We'll eat at the places that have running water. We'll get the bottled drinks. We'll get the ice at the hotel, but not out from the street stall. You know, it's always worthwhile to carry some Imodium, to carry some Pepto-Bismol, to carry some things to help counteract that. But I will say I am particularly sensitive to, I guess, various bacteria for traveler's diarrhea. OC girl is not. So we can eat the same things, and she doesn't get an upset stomach, and I do. Grant says, if you had to choose between New Zealand, Norway, or Iceland for a trip, which would you choose? So I've been to Norway, which has been awesome. That was one of the first videos I did, Norway in a nutshell. Iceland or New Zealand. I think out of this list, I would probably pick Iceland next. We've been wanting to go to Iceland. I want to go to New Zealand too, but I would probably just pick Iceland from a distance perspective right now. Molson Man says, my first time here. My wife and I stayed at the Homewood Suites, City Center, Las Vegas. Saw your review prior, spot on, friend. Molson Man, I appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed staying at that hotel as well. One of the reasons why I make those hotel reviews is I'm like, probably that hotel, there probably weren't any other great videos, and I didn't find any, and so I'm like, well, I should make one so people can know what they're getting into before they get there, because hotel websites often aren't very good at telling you what you're actually getting into when you're booking that hotel. The Points Traveler says, do you enjoy plane spotting? And I absolutely do enjoy plane spotting, in particular airports where you can get like a good view of the planes. At LAX, I enjoy sitting at that In-N-Out Burger and watching the planes come in, you know, particularly when it's like the A380s or the heavies. And, you know, I'm also the one like at the airports where we live in Southern California, we live closer to John Wayne Airport, but like when there's a Santa Ana wind and the winds come from the other direction, I'll be telling Osika, I'm like, look, the plane's taking off from the other direction. And she's like, okay, right? You know, like for most people, it's not that exciting, but for airplane geeks, it is. Swifty Travel says, I missed you at Enchant by one day at Resorts World. One day, right? We're probably in Vegas, but we were passing trains. Alex says, there's a Din Tai Fung opening in Portland in the spring. Recommendations, bao, pot stickers. Alex, my go-tos at Din Tai Fung, pork xiaolong bao, those are the soup dumplings. Pork chop fried rice, number 2. And then I would say, you know, you can't go wrong down the menu from there. But if you have to go for number 3, I also like to get the shrimp fried noodle. So that's my top 3 at Din Tai Fung. Oh, and top 4 is then to add the spicy cucumbers. Basically, the food repertoire that you saw in the video where Electric Rick was eating at Din Tai Fung. Yeah, Points Traveler says reverse ops. Indeed, reverse operations, because they reverse the airport. Heather says, what tips do you have for navigating Shinjuku Station, one of the busiest train stations in the world in Tokyo? My couple tips for you, Heather. One is to realize the station has like all these different sections for all the different operators. So the different companies that come in there, like whole different sections of the station. So know the company that you're riding, if it's JR or if it's another one, and then know like when you're leaving, what exit you're going to, and be really careful about which exit. So like there's the south exit, the new south exit, and the southern terrace exit, and all three of those are different exits. And from the platforms, when you go down like the platforms, if you're on like the JR or like Yamanote line or something like that, if you go down different staircases or up different staircases, you'll only be able to access certain exits. And so it's worthwhile looking at saying like, okay, what exit do I want to get to? And then from the platform, what staircase do I need to get to that section of the train station to actually get out that exit? Brooklyn Joe says, how do you miss a guy in a yellow shirt? I guess by going on a completely different day. That's probably how. Carlos says, were you a Backstreet Boys or NSYNC fan? Probably not a huge fan of either of them. That being said, I enjoy their music still when it comes on the radio. I'm a big Sirius XM radio in my car. I spend a lot of time listening to the 80s, 90s, and the 2000s station, maybe because I'm just stuck in the past. Gus says, not a question, but I recently bought a flight from LAX to Tokyo for $384 in the main cabin. That is awesome, Gus. I really hope you enjoy Tokyo. That's a really great deal. Melissa says, what's one of the worst experiences you've had at a hotel? Mine is being cursed out for asking for extra towels in Georgia this past June. That's crazy, Melissa. I'm going to give you two stories for this one. One, and I don't have a video review of this hotel, but it was one that I stayed at in the south of France. It was a hotel, it's an Accor hotel, which is like a French chain of hotels. And at this hotel, I want some ice. Where do I get ice from? I like ice. I like icy cold drinks. Where do I get some ice? And there's no ice machine in the hotel. They say you can go to the bar in the lobby in the restaurant and they can give you some ice. So I go over there and I say, hey, can I get some ice? And they give me a glass and it has 1 cube of ice in the like 1 cube of ice in a glass about this big. I'm like, can I get some more ice, please? They put 2 more cubes of ice in the glass. So there's 3 cubes of ice in the glass. I'm like, can you fill up the glass of ice, please? And the bartender holds up this ice bucket and says, no, that's all the ice you get because this bucket of ice is all of the ice we have for the hotel all day. I'm like, wow, all right, that's something peachy keen. But this is the second story is not something that happened to me, but something that made me feel bad for the staff at the hotel. I was staying at a hotel in Japan in like a couple-hour train ride outside of Tokyo in the country. It's the only hotel in this area for like 30 kilometers or something. Not a lot of hotels where we're staying. And this is a very traditional Japanese business hotel, meaning the rooms are small. And this American checked in to this hotel and she called up the hotel staff to come up to her room and proceeded to berate the hotel staff about how small the room is, how she can't stay in a room this small, she needs a bigger room. Of course, they explained to her that there are no bigger rooms in the hotel. She's like, well, then you need to book me you need to get me another hotel that has bigger rooms. And of course, they explained to her there are no other hotels around here that have bigger rooms. And then finally on the same floor, like I could hear this all because she was yelling really loud in the hallway. I'm in my room. I wasn't really watching the whole thing. But finally, some other American came out of his room to be like, lady, shut up. And then she kind of whimpered back and went back to her room. But I appreciated the, somebody saying like, hey man, really, like that's the hotel. Why don't you just go back into your corner, enjoy your room, or find your hotel yourself. All right. Chicken Marsala says, what was the life update? I missed it. The great part is that YouTube has an archive for these live streams. And so not to bore all the people that have been on here, but as soon as we're done with this, you can go back and play it again and you'll get the life update at the beginning. Boston Elevator says, my worst hotel experience was when someone somehow broke into my room and stole my laptop. That's a huge bummer. I'm sorry to hear that happened to you. Gus says that was a story. That was it was very memorable for sure. Back on Accor hotels, Justin says they're big in Australia. Yeah, they're not my favorite. Most of them are not my favorite hotels. Accor owns Fairmont now, which is one of my favorite hotel chains, but luckily Accor has not mucked with Fairmont all that much. All right. Yeah, Emmett asked if the person in the hotel was Oprah. And you know what? Since I didn't see who it was, because I stayed in my room, I just heard them at the top of their lungs. I can neither confirm nor deny whether it was Oprah. Running at Altitude says, what beach would you recommend in Florida? I don't know if you want like the hippest, most exciting beach. It's Miami Beach. I think like a neat place in Florida that I really like because it's unlike the rest of Florida is Key West, all the way down the Florida Keys, all the way at the south. Not because the beaches are the most amazing, but I just love the vibe in Key West. It's kind of like funky and, you know, maybe like a lava lamp kind of place. Vancouver Dave says, what's your biggest hotel room pet peeve? I think is what that's supposed to say. And by the way, Vancouver Dave, I love that in your picture, you've got the Yellow Productions beanie right there. Well done. I think my biggest hotel room pet peeve, and it's twofold, but it's about the air conditioner in the room. And air conditioners that turn on and off all night that you can't just set the fan to constant is probably my biggest pet peeve. My then second one related to that is where the air conditioner just like blows on your face directly all night. That's my second pet peeve. That one I can handle a little bit more because I can put a chair in front of it or make a pillow mountain or something like that. But the air conditioner that turns on and off all night, I have a really hard time falling to sleep when it does that. Though I was in a hotel at Disney World once. this was a real stinker. Was that the air conditioner was on a motion sensor, and if you didn't move for 5 minutes, it turned off the air conditioner. And if you know anything about Orlando, it's hot, and so if the air conditioner turns off, it gets really hot and stuffy. And so like I'm going to bed and I'm always like, I need to fall asleep in 5 minutes because if I don't fall asleep, the air conditioner's going to turn off. Oh, sure enough, it turned off. Move. Oh, air conditioner's back on. Okay, I got 5 minutes to go sleep. Oh, it turned off again. And turn on the air conditioner. That was a phenomenal stay in that room. Soham says, big fan of your videos, watch them every night. Thank you very much. And the question is, favorite hotel chain and status? Hyatt Globalist is my favorite status. Yeah, Tamala, this was probably after air conditioning, the gap in the curtains is a big pet peeve of mine. But if you've watched my video on hotel room hacks, the way to solve the gap in the curtain is in your closet. If you've got a pants or skirt hanger, the one that had the clips on it, just forcibly put your curtains together, take those clips from the clip hanger and clip them to clip the curtains together. There you go. That's your quick fix for the gap in the curtains. California Niner says, don't ignore me. I'm not ignoring you, California Niner. All right. Swifty Travel says, a motion sensor AC. That's crazy. That is crazy. MT Gal says, new to your channel, do you think Omega Mart is very wheelchair friendly? I don't think it's very wheelchair friendly. I think you can get around most of it in a wheelchair. Like, I'm doing the recollection in my head, and I think that certainly the supermarket section and then the town section in the back is like all on one level, and then a lot of the research lab is on the second level. There's an elevator to get up there. I think there's like some slides and things like that you're not going to be riding in a wheelchair. So there's like kind of these like middle tiers that have the slides. I think you can see 80% of it fine in a wheelchair. And California Niner says, love you for not ignoring me. I love you too. Boston Elevators asked if there was a way to shut off that sensor. I complained, and then the next day they, it's one of these where like, well, we can just turn it permanently on. And I'm like, why don't you go ahead and do that? That would be great. Hannah Chan says, what place do you recommend going with kids in San Francisco? Certainly Fisherman's Wharf area, Pier 39. And then there's this really neat arcade around Fisherman's Wharf called Musée Mécanique. I will have a video coming out on it by Christmas. Between now and Christmas, stay tuned for it. Also really like Ghirardelli Square. A lot of great ice cream over there. So that's my quick few tips. Matthew says, do you unpack your suitcase in the hotel dresser or do you keep your clothes in the suitcase? Two-part answer to this one. One is if I'm going to be in a hotel for a long time, and by a long time, I consider that like a week. And by a week, I consider that like 7 days, like a week. If I'm gonna be there for a week, I'll unpack my clothes into the dresser because I'll be there for a while. If I'm there for less, 5 days or less, then I just keep it all in my suitcase. I pack pretty much all my stuff into packing cubes, and so it's not hard for me to just rifle through the stuff that's in my suitcase. I'm on Texas. Could you explain the extra W in Yellow Productions in your own video? That's a fantastic question that deserves a couple-minute answer. And since we have plenty of time today, I am going to do. So this is part of the origin story about where did the name Yellow Productions come from? Chris, why do you like yellow so much? And so this all starts back when I was a young lad of about 16 years old, and I was driving a silver 1986 Honda Accord. Chris, what does your car that you were driving have to do with the name of your channel? It does. Wait for it. So I'm driving this car. I'm coming back from In-N-Out Burger on a Labor Day weekend, which is a holiday here in the US. And as I'm coming back from In-N-Out Burger, the car in front of me pulls over to the side of my car, pulls over to the side of the road, stops. I go by. This car makes a U-turn into the side of my car. A block away were 3 California Highway Patrol cars filming an episode of the real stories of the California Highway Patrol. They heard the accident. They came on over. They brought their cameras. They brought their lights. They really weren't that interested in me, but they were really interested in the person in the other car. Why? Turns out she was an exotic dancer from a nearby strip club, and she had a little bit too much to drink before getting in her car. They hauled her off to jail. They gave me the card of the case number, said, Chris, call your insurance, reference this number. You know, they'll take care of you because clearly it's her fault because she's had way too much to drink. All right, so I need to get my car fixed. At that point, growing up in San Diego, I've got this car. The insurance company says it's totaled. Your 1986 Honda Accord, it's only worth like $3,000. The frame's dented in. We can give you $3,000 and take the car, or you can have like $2,800 and you can keep it. I'm like, great, why don't you give me the $2,800? I'll keep the car. San Diego has a lot of junkyards, and I don't mean like junkyards as in like trash, but I mean like junkyards for cars that have been in accidents, that can't drive anymore, but have a lot of great serviceable parts. So I take my car down to the junkyards near the border between the US, Mexico, and the south part of San Diego. Say, what can you do for me? And there's a place that's like, yeah, for, a few $100, we can put on a new door panel, we can put on a new rear panel, we can pull out the frame, you'll be good to go. All right, get that done. Now my car is silver, red, and blue. Silver, red, and blue. All right, well, what am I to do with a silver, red, and blue car? I'm not gonna drive that thing around. So I take my car to a paint shop. I had no idea what color I was gonna paint my car. I get to the paint shop. I look up at the board of colors. Having just got into an accident with a drunk driver, I say, what is a color that somebody will see me in? I don't say that out loud, but that's what I say in my head. I look up at the board, and yellow is one of the colors. I say, paint my car yellow. At this place called One Day Paint. It takes about 5 days to paint my car at One Day Paint. By the way, don't get your car painted at One Day Paint in San Diego. That was not a great experience. False advertising, One Day Paint that takes 5 days. But anyway, the car was ultimately painted yellow. And then a lot of people, driving a yellow car places, a lot of people started to call me Yellow. Hey, Yellow, like as a nickname. Hey, Yellow, because I've got the yellow car. And then I could never remember the license plate of my car. For the life of me, because it was one of those like H25794. So I went to the DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles, and I went to get a custom plate. And back in the day, back then, you couldn't go online, you couldn't like search for what license plates were taken. So I went there with the few ideas of license plates that I wanted. All of them were taken. And then I'm like, well, I don't know. I'm standing in front of this thing. I'm like, how about yellow with a second W? And they're like, that's available. So I got a license plate, yellow, second W, for my yellow car. And so then when I started my YouTube channel, Yellow Productions, as the name of my yellow car, 2 W's in the license plate, 2 W's in the website name, because that's what I registered. By the way, that turned out to be a huge mistake because YouTube or Google is smarter than I am. And anytime anybody would type in yellow with 2 W's into the search bar, Google would say, or YouTube would say, that must be wrong. Let me autocorrect that to 1 W, because who would type in 2 W's in yellow? And people who were searching for Yellow Productions never found it, because my channel had 2 W's, and that wasn't what they were searching for once YouTube auto-corrected it. And some years later, I renamed the channel to a single W. But the website, if you go there, often still has 2 W's. You can get there with yellow.net with 2 W's or yellow-productions.com only with 1 W. All right, there you go. That's the story. Yellow Productions, why there's 2 W's, why yellow, love for yellow, and then finally why the yellow t-shirts. My brother-in-law at one point said, Chris, you need a logo. He designed this logo right here. I'm looking at myself and, it's reversed on these things. But Chris, you don't know what side the logo's on? The logo's over here. He designed the logo. This is like a film strip font. The film strip's reversed and yellow down the center. And he printed them on some yellow shirts and say, hey, you should wear these in your video. And so I started to wear them in some of my videos. And then when I wouldn't wear my yellow shirts, people would be like, Chris, where's the yellow shirt? And I'm like, well, I've only got a few of them, And so now, I have like yellow shirts galore. I probably have more yellow shirts than almost anyone else, as you could imagine, because if I'm making a video, I have a yellow shirt on. It turned out to be a really great branding thing, right? You see me, you see the thumbnail, you see yellow, you see the yellow text, you're like, that is my favorite Yellow Productions guy. I know it's going to be a good video because it's got yellow in it, or at least that's what I hope you think when you see the yellow. Brooklyn Joe says, I took my first car to Earl Scheib, 99. I'll paint any car for 99.95. If you're not familiar with Earl Scheib, that was always his quote. Yaya says, do you have any advice on cheap traveling? My advice for you on cheap traveling is go places where other people aren't. If you're going where everybody wants to go, that's going to be expensive. But if you go to the places that people aren't going, that's going to be cheap. I really like to think about going to business destinations when none of the business travelers are going there, because they're often expensive because of business travelers. They got a lot of flights. They got a lot of good hotels. So, or an example is Washington, D.C. A lot of people go to Washington, D.C. for business on the weekdays. On the weekends, there's no business people there, and so the hotel rooms are really cheap if you're in Washington, D.C. on the weekend. Codge Full of Love says, do you still have that license plate? I still have that license plate. Although it's no longer on a yellow car because we upgraded to daddy and mommy cars, so you will see that license plate on an orange Lexus NX today. Alex says, I can't wait to see you hit 300K. I remember 100K like it was just yesterday. Alex, you've been with me for a long time. I appreciate it. Irfan says, what's the best budget hotel in New York? I don't know that I've stayed at all the budget hotels in New York. Actually, I probably stayed at very few budget hotels in New York. But one I can make a recommendation on. There's like a Fairfield Inn, like Midtown Manhattan or something. That was pretty decent. But if you're kind of go to New York City, my recommendation for you, if you want budget, is to stay in New Jersey, in Jersey City. In Jersey City, there's a PATH train that you can take from Jersey City into the World Trade Center. There's a Hyatt House that's right there on the other side of the river from Manhattan, and the room rates are half what they are in Manhattan if you're just a 5 or 10 minute train ride away. Ramen Goded asks if the train is a good option from San Diego to Los Angeles. Kind of. If you don't have any place to be and you're not in a rush, it's a really pretty train ride when it's running. It's broken right now. The track's washed away on one of the beaches, and so currently the train is not running from San Diego to LA. But if you're staying in downtown San Diego, it's really convenient. If you're staying in downtown LA, it's really convenient, but they're often not on time, like hours delayed. So I don't take them almost ever anymore. Matt Bailey says, what are you most excited for in Vegas next year? I think I'm most excited for the Fontainebleau Hotel to finally open. That's the hotel that's kind of like kitty corner from the Circus. It's the 60+ story big blue hotel. This thing has gone through so many different names and so many different evolutions that I'll be really glad to actually see it come to fruition. Jeffrey says, hey, if you want to avoid the resort fees in Vegas, check out the Four Binions Casino Royale. Just some advice for tourists. Yeah, a lot of people say, Chris, resort fees are unavoidable in Vegas. They are avoidable. You just have to stay at the hotels that don't have them. The big strip hotels all have them, but not all the hotels in Vegas have them. Pippin says, Chris, what's your favorite hotel in Maui? It is the Andaz in Maui. That's my favorite hotel in Maui. It's expensive, but if you got Hyatt points, it's a really good value. Ben says, how often do you fly first class? Paid first class, rarely. upgraded first class. I often use my miles or points or things like that to book into first class on domestic. If I'm going internationally, then business is good enough. That being said, my mom and we did take a trip 8 years ago to Hong Kong before Hong Kong got like all weird. And we flew United International first class, like, where they make the bed and everything. And that was truly amazing. What was most amazing about that flight, and this is where it's a $20,000 ticket, but I just redeemed miles for it, is we were flying from San Diego to San Francisco, connecting in San Francisco to Hong Kong. And that was the first class segment. And going from San Diego to San Francisco, our flight was delayed hour and a half, something like that. I'm like, I'm telling my mom, there's no way we're gonna make this flight. We need to probably think of other options when we get to San Francisco. But because we had a first class ticket on that flight, when we got to San Francisco, at the jet bridge was a United employee of the airport wearing a business suit, holding a sign. Mr. Rainey, we are waiting for you. We are holding the plane. I am here to walk you to that plane to make sure you get on that plane. They are not going to leave until I get there with you. And I was like, hallelujah, because I don't want to spend an extra night in San Francisco that I didn't have to. And so you're like, is first class really worth it? I wouldn't pay $20,000 for it, but I would redeem a significant amount of miles for it. Jed and Nacho says, I have a 7-hour layover in Hong Kong in February 23. It's a pretty nice airport, but with 7 hours, you can actually take a train into the city. Like, take a train into Central Station. The trains are like 30 minutes from the airport to Central Hong Kong. Spend a couple hours walking around Hong Kong, then get back to the airport. Points Traveler asked if I tried any of the lounges in Hong Kong. I love the lounges in Hong Kong. They're like really great lounges, though Singapore has better lounges. The Singapore Airlines lounges, I think, are some of the best lounges, but Hong Kong does have some pretty good ones. Grant says, what's your favorite hobby not related to travel? Music games like Dance Dance Revolution, the Beatmania games. I am a huge fan of Dance Dance Revolution in the arcades. I don't play it nearly as much today as I used to. Other things I like to ride a bike. I like to bicycle. I like to surf poorly. I do more bodyboarding than I do surfing. I did a whole video about like how to bodyboard. Why? Because at one point I tore my rotator cuff wiping out on a big wave, and so it's still painful for me like 20 years later to paddle a big board, but on a bodyboard that's smaller, that I've also got fins on, is a lot of fun. So those are we like to hike too. So those are kind of our big hobbies. Brooklyn says, what about the MSG Sphere in Vegas? I think that'll be neat to see. However, I don't see a lot of concerts in Vegas just because Los Angeles has a lot of good concerts to go to if I want to see concerts. But I would like to see a concert at the MSG Sphere. JTHA says, Dance Dance Revolution for the Afronova song was insane. It was insane, but I can do that. I can do the Afronova song on the highest level difficulty. And for any Dance Dance Revolution buffs that are here, not holding the bar. There's if you see people play that game in the arcades, there's some people that'll hold the bar behind them because it helps them know where they are and know where the arrows are. I think that's cheating, so you can't hold the bar when you play Dance Dance Revolution. Alex says, do you think Capital One travel is worthwhile if I get 5% cash back on hotels versus trying to get status and hardly travel personally outside of my family trips? You mean booking it from the Capital One travel website? I mean, if you don't travel much, then yeah, don't bother to try and get status. I still Chris's preference is to book with hotels directly if I can, because I get some points with those hotels. The places where I often don't book directly are in Japan, because a lot of the hotel websites I can't understand, or their websites are really complicated to use, and so then I'll use a third-party booking site for countries that I just find their websites too obtuse to book direct. Grant says, what's the origin story behind saying comma after however comma? I don't know. I think it's just one of my William Shatner school of acting modes. When I say that, William Shatner is always known for his dramatic pauses. And so that's probably why I say however, comma. It just makes it a little bit more dramatic. You heard my first thing and then you hear however, comma, and now what I'm going to tell you. That's also, you hear me say, I have two answers a lot to a lot of questions. That's like another signature one. I used to use the phrase cool beans a lot. Cool beans, but I don't use it in maybe the YouTube vernacular all that much because there's a little bit less like, call and response here. Gino Man says it's a quirk. I have plenty of quirks. I've also been told, some people who don't like Yellow Production, don't like the channel, say they can't stand my hands. Chris, you use your hands too much, less with the hands. And I can't talk if I don't move my hand. My hands are connected to my mouth, and if you like try to tie my hands behind my back, I can't think as well. The other thing that people don't like, there's a set of people who don't like that I drink on these live streams, but I'm sorry, I can't talk for an hour very passionately and very excitedly without drinking. You meet up with a friend for an hour and you're not going to sit there and not drink, right? You're like when you meet up with friends for a while, where do you meet up? You meet at like a coffee shop, you meet at a bar, maybe you meet up at a tea shop, and you don't like, hey, what are you doing drinking right there? And anyway, that's just kind of my mode, to be like, y'all are my friends. We're hanging out at a tea shop today. We're talking about travel. Cottage Full of Love says, Chris, cool beans. Mrs. Clay says, to heck with those people, I say the same, Mrs. Clay, because you know what? One of the things I've learned is you can't please everybody in this life. And this is one of those like YouTube things where like, I think that why a lot of people don't want to be on YouTube is the negative comments. It can easily be like blown out of proportion, right? Like the people who leave negative comments leave way more negative comments than most people who leave positive comments. And so for all of you who watch my videos and leave positive comments, please keep doing it. It means a lot. It really does. I read all of them. And, here on the live stream, right, Kathy is one that I know she's going to be here all the time on these. She's going to be in the archives all the time. Right, James is going to be there all the time too. Alex is going to be there. And I just love, like, Chris, I love this video. Thank you for this video. Scottman895 Travel, he comments on every single video that I upload over the last, 10 years, I think. And Scottman895 Travel, I appreciate every single one of those comments. Please keep doing it, because for me, the positive comments then help drown out for every one of those people who's like, Chris, I can't stand your, and I'm like, well, I'm glad there's a lot of other people that don't, And James says, hey, you do you, Chris. We love you. Hey, and I love you too, James. Boy, that sounds sappy, but there we go. And all of you that are here, frankly. And all of you who aren't here, who are watching the archives. Well, if you've made it this far into the archive, much love from me to you. Biggest misconception about you or your channel, probably number one is that I YouTube full time. That's one, like when I see people in person who've watched my channel, they say things like, I wish I had your job. And then to only say, well, it's actually not this, right? Like my job is something else that helps pay the bills. This helps pay all these bills for these things, but I love doing it. Biggest misconception about me? Biggest misconception about me is that I am an extrovert who loves to go to happy hour. I hate happy hour. What do I hate about happy hour? I mean, I don't hate the concept of happy hour, but I'm not a big drinker of alcoholic beverages. I will drink a beer, a wine, maybe a low alcohol level cocktail, but I don't have any desire to sit someplace and pound back 10 things that I'm hung over the next day. And I don't like the unstructured part of happy hour because I never know when it ends and I never know when I can leave. And people would say, whether I'm at happy hour or whether I'm at a party, they're like, Chris, you seemed like the life of the party, or you seemed like the life of the happy hour. And I'm like, maybe I did, but I just never feel like I can leave. When can I leave? When's it okay to leave? Can I be the first one to leave? Is that weird? Am I the middle one to leave? Shall I be here till everyone leaves? I don't know. So AE says, have you ever been drunk? Yes, but I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy the after effects. I like my brain to be clear rather than my brain to be that's just me. To each their own. Points Traveler asked if I've watched the World Cup. I'm not a huge sports fan. Like, I've probably watched it when I've been at a restaurant or someplace and it's on, or I watch the highlights on the news. But I do think it would be fun to travel to Qatar, and I think it would be fun to fly Qatar Airways. And Kathy says, I'm still here. I've just not commented too much today. Love the live streams, though. Kathy, I honestly had no doubt that you were still here, but thank you for emoting that you're still here. That's also the this one interesting thing about the live stream is that, like, I can look in here and see, like, oh, there's 230 people on and 130 likes. And so, by the way, if you liked it earlier when I said there's only 49, thank you very much. But if you haven't yet, please drop that like again, because every like goes to feed a piece of premium bamboo to the Yellow Productions crew back here. But I can see you, chat, but I can't see you, right? There's 230 people. Some people said, Chris, imagine if there were 230 people in the room with you right now. That would be a lot, be packed. It would be packed in my little studio right here. That's a lot of people. JT says, Knott's Berry Farm versus Disneyland. I think it'd be a cool video to compare the two. All right, I will consider that for a future video. I think that's a longer answer than a shorter question. Peter says, do you like any sport, brother? Surfing. I like surfing as a sport. I will watch surfing videos all day. What other sports do I like? I like I like to watch the Olympics. I like to watch the Winter Olympics sort of things. I like to watch snowboarding. I enjoy snowboarding. I enjoy solo sports rather than team sports. I don't know, maybe because team sports is just like, you got to get too many people together. You got dedicated time. You got to wake up on Sunday morning to play in the team sport. So I like bicycling. I like surfing. I like disc golf. I like frisbee. I like mini golf. I like golf, but maybe not 18-hole real golf. I like pitch and putt golf, where you play with a putter and a 9-iron. So those are like the sports that I like. Jenny Fight asked if I went to December Nights. I have not been to December Nights in San Diego in a long, long time, mostly because I find it a haze to just get in there and park because so many people go there. That's why I didn't do that. Alex says, what's up with the changes to Disney annual pass? My brother-in-law and sister didn't renew. More money, less days, more block out. I mean, it's the same story every year about the Disney annual passes, really. That's right. Mrs. Clay says, there's always the Irish exit, leave without saying goodbye, or be like, hey, I need to go to the restroom. See ya. Or not even say, I need to go to the restroom, and then just don't come back. There is, but I don't want to be that guy as well. Bill Meadows says, thanks for not filling your videos with ads. My pleasure, Bill. And I realize that you're, committing some of your time to watch these videos. Generally, like you watch some videos and they've got like so many mid-roll ads. I will tell you, I generally don't turn the mid-roll ads on most of my videos. So as a YouTuber, you can set which videos have ads, whether you have skippable ads, whether you have them at the front, whether you have them at the end. Yes, you can put ads at the end. I never put the ads at the end. And then you can choose whether mid-roll ads are there. And you can choose when they show up there. Actually, there's a button in the live stream thing that I can click on if I wanted to insert an ad right now into the live stream, which I've never done. I always get this thing that comes up and says, like, now would be a good time to put in an ad. And maybe you see it when you start the live stream, but you probably never see it in the middle of it. The ones I do turn them on to are my Vegas videos. If you watch my Vegas videos, you will see ads in the middle of those. Why? Because some of these Vegas trips and some of the things I do, I really do that to make these videos. And so then in that case, I'm like, I really need those videos to actually recoup the money that I spent. And that's where you'll see some of those ads. Meritocratic Mafia says, do you pay for YouTube Premium? I do pay for YouTube Premium. I spend so much time on YouTube that I can't be bogged down with a gazillion ads to skip. Choo Choo says, how did you come up with Yellow Productions? I'll encourage you to watch the archive because I did answer that question about 20 minutes ago. Peter says, are you a morning or an evening person or none of the above? By nature, I am an evening or a night person. And in my college past, I hated morning classes. I was definitely the no class before 10 a.m. Ideally, no class before noon. Being a computer science major, actually a lot of the computer science classes were offered as night classes, 6 p.m., 7 p.m. classes. Those worked super great for me. And I started in college staying up so late working on my, programming and things like that, Well, by the time I was sitting at my computer all night and I saw the sun coming up, I'm like, I think I'm staying up a little too late. Now, most days, I'm in bed somewhere between 10 p.m. and midnight, and then up in the morning somewhere between 5 a.m. and 9 a.m. It depends whether it's a weekday, it depends whether it's a weekend, but that's sort of my schedule. As a traveler, I've become more of a morning person because I've realized that the early flights, they're more on time. In general, they get canceled less, and so, I'll take that 6 a.m. flight if it means I have to get up at 3 or 4 so that I get to where I'm going. Momo says, what made you move out of San Diego? OC girl, she really loved Irvine. And so she said, hey, let's look at Irvine. And I really enjoy Irvine. I think Irvine in Orange County, California is like suburbia perfected. So there we go. Aaron asked if you would ever consider moving to Las Vegas. I like the beach too much to move to Las Vegas. I like the city. Like, if I was going to live in a city that wasn't near the beach, it might very well be Las Vegas. But as a beach boy, I don't think it's for me to live in. Choo Choo asks how Josh and I thought of doing that collab video. We were talking about doing that video for about 9 months now. Josh, just like I've been doing this Christmas light series this year, Josh always does Christmas light videos, and last year he was did a video on Lightscape LA at the LA Arboretum, and he was like, Chris, I'm gonna go on this date, do you wanna come? That date didn't work out, and then we're talking for a long time about when, where, and then, he's got kids, I got kids, we both travel, and so finding a time that would match up the schedules was a little bit of a challenge, but we made it work out, and then we're like, okay, we gotta make, to do a great collab, you gotta do 2 videos, you gotta do one for this channel, and you gotta do one for the other channel, and Josh does more vlog style. He does a lot of vlog style videos, but he also does a lot of hey, let me tell you about this national park. So we did a vlog of Huntington Beach for Josh, California Through My Lens for his channel. And then for my channel, we did mistakes coming to California. And I'm just like, well, who's a better person to tell us about that than Josh? It's kind of I don't know, maybe a theme I've been repeating. I did that with Rob from Trip Caps DC. It's an easy one to have a list of 20 things and talk about it. What mistakes have you seen people do? And I think they're also valuable and informative things for you to hear what locals or experts on a place see other people doing and are like, don't do that. That's going to be a mistake. Blue Rider says, as a computer expert, what do you recommend the dial-in security on your phone? Just don't download too much weird stuff. Honestly, download apps that you know from places that you know. Don't get weird things that you're like the way most malware comes on a phone is when you search for random things like photo resizer. And then you download the app called Photo Resizer. There's 50 of them, and half of them are malware. So, download Chrome, download United, download Uber Eats, but don't download a lot of these free things that are even paid things could have malware in them. But download the apps from the big companies, the big developers, and not little ones that you're I don't know who built this thing. That's my number 1 recommendation. My number 2 recommendation, Alex says don't download TikTok. There you go. My number 2 recommendation is definitely to turn on 2-factor authentication or 2-factor security. So on my Google account, for example, anytime I log in, it's not just username and password, but I get a confirmation on my phone that I have to click to allow anybody to log in. So if you're trying to log into my account because you got my password, well, unless you've got my phone, it's not going to be very useful to you. Please don't steal my phone, all right? Because you won't know the passcode to unlock it to click that yes button. JT says your dad being in some of your videos is pretty cool. He seems very down to earth. It was pretty cool. And that was by request of y'all here on the channel. Chris, can you feature your dad more? So that was a lot of fun, and I'm glad you're enjoying it. And Brian says, hey, there's 229 viewers on the live stream. Why not 200 likes? Just saying. Good question, Brian. If you can hit the like button again. No, if you've already hit it, you can't hit it again. I would appreciate it if you could. But Alex says, as far as donuts, Oli Boli or Sidecar, they're 2 donuts that are in Orange County, California. Oli Boli, they make fresh donuts. They're pretty good if you can eat them right away. My favorite donuts in Orange County is at JD Flannel Donuts in San Juan Capistrano, and I really like their smoked apple fritter. There you go. And then Grant says, I appreciate the extra time tonight. Hey, I figure we're doing Q&A, so we could go an extra 15 minutes. But on that note,
Yes, it's the time you've been waiting for. It's time for the giveaway.
fellow explorers, it's time to give away a Yellow Productions t-shirt, and I'll be doing Spunky Princess again as the last live stream of the year. So we'll give away one more Spunky Princess shirt, and then as we go into 2023, I'll go back to the Yellow Productions crew rotation. But today you are vying for a Spunky Princess shirt, and to win this, you have to tell me, what shopping center was she walking around with the number 3 balloon in the pictures that I showed you? And if you can answer that question and you're the first one to do it, I will send you that shirt anywhere in the world. But if you want to pick one of those up, or you want to pick up the Yellow Productions crew shirt and you didn't win one, you can do that over the Yellow Productions shop. You'll find a link in the description below. And if you want to know when is the next live stream, well, I already told you this is the last one of this calendar year, because I'm taking a bit of break over the holidays. The Spunky Princess is out of preschool for the last 2 weeks of the year, so Daddy is on duty, and we'll be spending time doing lots of fun stuff as we do. So these live streams will come back the first week of January, but if you sign up here for my email list, you'll be the first one to know the date and what the topic is.
And now we have a winner chicken dinner.
Congratulations to Rebecca T. You were the first one to say Irvine Spectrum. Send me an email, chris@yellow-productions.com. You'll find the link to that in the description below. Let me know your address and your size, and I'll get that headed right over to you. Second place, but no shirt, goes to Alex. Good job right there. And then Mars112 was number 3, but Rebecca, you are the winner. Well, fellow explorers, it was so great hanging out with y'all today. You know, for the next 12 days of December before Christmas, another Yellow Productions video every day between now and then. I've got that many stored up and unlisted that I've shot and edited and just need to get out there. Otherwise, they just get too old and you'll be watching them in February going like, Chris, when did you shoot this? So I'm clearing out the backlog. So come back every day for a new Yellow Productions video, and I'll see you on the next live stream in January.